Growing up as an African American youth in the 50s was not what many considered the American dream. There are many obstacles, barriers, and struggles that many African Americans had to overcome. Among many pioneers is South Florida's very own Mr. Jerry Rushin. Born in Eastman, Georgia in the late 40s and growing up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Rushin landed his first job at a furniture store.
School, I was, washing up old trade-in refrigerators, and I was keeping the furniture clean on on the floor when people come in. I make sure that it didn't have fingerprints on the mirrors and stuff. Then I got involved in as a delivery helper. Then I became a part-time sales guy. Then I worked in a warehouse. Then I started working full-time in sales. And short period of time went by. I was the store manager, assistant store manager, and I was there, until I just left and went to broadcasting school. One Christmas Eve, 1970, 71. I said, "That's enough of this. I got to fulfill my dream, and I got to chase my dream of radio."
Before chasing his dreams in radio, Rushin went to the Army 2 months after graduating high school. He was then deployed to Saigon, Vietnam, where he assisted in saving lives during the Vietnam War.
I flew what you call rescue medevac. We guys got wounded. My job was to get in the helicopters, and we would fly in and try to, rescue them, bring them out, get them back, get them treatment, first aid, back to the hospitals, whatever, And, so that was some days when it was kind of crazy, you're 18 years old, I was pretty much fearless.
Although this wasn't Rushin's ultimate goal for success, he used this as a stepping stone for his future career.
It was rather fulfilling because I really got a chance to to save some lives. I know some guys that got wounded, hand grenades, you name it, gunshot wound. And I know that I was a big part of those guys surviving, coming back home to their families. And it's kind of like radio, as a doctor, you get a chance to do good. And I think, at least I thought then, and probably, you get a chance to make a good living. So you get a chance to do good on one hand and make a good living on the other hand. It's kind of like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I figured radio could be the same way. If you get it right, you get a chance to do some good. And, if you're really smart at what you're doing, you get a chance to make a good living.
After leaving the Army, Rushin decided to fulfill his brother's dream in radio.
My brother went to broadcasting school up in Chicago. But while he was there, he met a young lady, fell in love, got married. So then he had to drop out of school and go to work.
Oh, wow.
He had to take care of his wife, and then he had a little son to be born. So he couldn't quite finish, the broadcast training and stuff. So, but by that time, we had already planted the seed in my mind.
Rushin's dream grew and grew until he decided to attend school in 1971 at Miami Lakes Technical School. Rushin didn't let the color of his skin determine his success.
In fact, in school, I became the first program director of the school, because the school had just started that year. And so it gave me a lot of opportunities. I was the first person to broadcast on WLRN, while I was there. So it wasn't a factor at all. I think what happened, when you put in certain situations, you got so much in common, you don't think much about race or color. It's like when poor people all together, and poor people got so many problems, common problems between them, they don't have time to think about their color, the other person's color. You're all just poor, or you all can just be rich, but you're in the same situation. So in school, we were all just being ambitious, and trying to fulfill our dreams of getting in broadcasting.
Little did Rushin know, attending school at Miami Lakes Tech and breaking barriers would land him a job at WEDR. His friend quit his job where a position opened up for Rushin. He then took the title of a board operator. In 1980, Rushin became the general manager for WEDR. Later in 2000, he became the general manager for WHQT while still obtaining his position as GM for WEDR. Rushin is now the market manager for all 4 stations for Cox Media Miami. Through Rushin's success, He received many accolades and awards for being a great general manager, a great businessman in the radio industry, and also helping WEDR become the #1 Arbitron-rated radio station in South Florida. Rushin's biggest accomplishment is being an influence in his daughter's life to follow his footsteps.
Just for you ladies, Wale right here on 99 Jamz. Coming up in 15 minutes, I am giving you tickets to the stage play. I Need a Man. I know you want him because you've been calling for him all day long. For music, let's talk. Here's Ashanti.
I think it was because I pretty much grew up in the radio station with, I guess, following him to work or whatever. Let's see. And it was like a given. I didn't even think about doing anything else. It was like going to college, study radio. And then as I was growing up, I guess I would always hear from Cecil, because she's been around forever, about, oh, the money is in sales, you know, advertising, that was the thing. So that was my main focus. I studied advertising. Broadcast was kind of like the minor, so to speak. But once I graduated, or actually I did my internship, and I realized I wasn't ready for sales because I didn't want to wear heels and stockings. You know, they weren't stockings back then. But I didn't want to wear stockings, and I'm not pushy. So when somebody says no, I'm like, okay, thank you, have a good day. But I know with sales, you have to be a little pushy and kind of, you know, try to change their mind, you know, be very persuasive, so to speak. So I was like, okay, I'm not ready for this. And of course, while I was interning, I did the broadcast side. And that's kind of like where I found my niche and kind of fell in love with that because I think I have a pretty decent personality. You know what I'm saying? I'm a people person. So I thought maybe, you know, I thought that I fit in best on that side. So that's kind of how I ended up on air. But definitely, I think being at the radio station with him as a child, you know, and being around a lot of the people that worked in the business had a big influence. You know, when I went to college, it was like, oh, broadcast, that's what you're studying, you know. And I get the joke all the time. Had I known you were going to come back and work here, I could have saved some money. Why did I send you to college to come back? You could have been 4 years deeper into your career, you know, that kind of stuff. But, you know, I'm glad I went to college. I don't regret anything. Love the experience. And I've been here ever since.
I sent Shelby to college for 4 years. And my idea is she's going to graduate from college and go on and do something else. Because if I would have known she wanted to be in radio, I could have just saved that money and gave her a job. You know? So, but no, she was like interning for whatever reason. And actually James T suggested that he put her on the air. I mean, I didn't mind, but it was not my idea because I thought she wanted to do something else. And really I wanted her to do something else. You know, I just figured that it was so rough on me coming up. I didn't really want her to go through the things that I went through. Although I turned out okay in the end, it turned out well for me. But, you know, I'm a dude. You know, I could handle it. I didn't want her to see her go through the things that I was going through early on when I got in this business. But, you know, so it was kind of like James T, you know, got her into it. And well, yeah, of course I helped her after she, you know, decided she was going to do it. But, you know, it was cool. It worked out okay, I guess.
Rushin not only had an impact on his daughter, but also the youth of South Florida. Music is a way to bridge the gap between generations and cultures.